Prove me wrong. Go find a coin or a statue of Jesus somewhere. You won't find one, brothers and sisters. Nobody, Origin, none of the historians of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century said anything about somebody called Jesus. Listen, bro. Listen, Lord. Listen what I'm saying. If there was somebody who really turned water into wine, they'd have statues of him everywhere. If somebody really took 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and fed 5,000 people, they have statues and monuments of him everywhere. If somebody really walked the water, that was it, man. That's it. Did y'all see that brother did, man? They would just, y'all follow what I'm saying? They would be drawings and everything of it. Not one iota of evidence anywhere on this planet.
We have someone who has really perfected as much as anybody, anywhere in the world, with courage, creativity, incredible intelligence, the art and the science of visual documentation. You know, there aren't many people in the world who can do that. African people, if you start talking, ask somebody for their documents from 2000 BC and before. Ask anybody in the world for that. And see what you come out with. Ask African people for their documents 2000 and before. And it's like you just open the door on global civilization because the documents are there. The mummies are around, the carvings are around, the mummies for the royal family are around from the middle of the 1500s BC, before the Common Era. The mummies are there. And so to have someone who has scoured the whole world, gone to Kemet, I don't know how many times Brother Quaker got over there. Kush was the mother of it all and spread out throughout the entire world and talked about people all over the world. Very few African historians were doing that. Brother Quincy is one of those people who has kept time in order. He knows where he is in time and where we are. He knows where he is in space and where we are. You may go on to talk about one thing, but by the time those questions come, they're coming from all over the place. Every topic imaginable, and you got to give a credible benefit of yourself. He was absolutely awesome. So it's a real honor, extra special pleasure for me to have the opportunity to get back here just in time to introduce my brother, your Baba, one of the greatest Africans living, one of the greatest Africans who will continue to serve, one who will always tell us the truth. I trust.
A great introduction by our Grandmaster teacher, Jochannan. What we want you to do is to think. Because once you start thinking, then we've got to start deifying our own baby. That's why we have the problems that we have in the community, because we have not deified ourselves. In fact, the enemy has become the deity in the spiritual subconscious of our mind. We deify white folks, but we don't deify our own enemy. Look at this, the true African Jesus right here. Christ teaching among the apostles 300 AD. There was no Michelangelo yet. There was no Pope Julius II in 1505 AD yet. There was no Bartholomew de Casas yet. This is what he looked like then. Wall painting in Rome. The young, beerless Christ, it says. They say if you want to keep something from black folks, just stick it in a book. There you go. Huh? That's right. Let's go after this now, brothers and sisters. This is the oldest picture of Jesus yet. Who was he? He was part of an African secret society called the Essenes. The Essenes, also part of an ancient Gnostic system. These were the first early Christians that came up out of the Nile Valley. Gnostics means the knowers of the truth. They knew where the spiritual concept that came up out of the African Nile Valley goes all the way back to a trinity called Isis, Osiris, and Horus. But the historical Jesus was an African Hebrew revolutionary. goes back to 300 AD in Rome, clearly showing here the young beardless Christ. Right here, this is the picture. At 300 AD was during the time of the Diocletian persecution when they were murdering North African Christians. These are the pictures that they left us at that time. In fact, the older the book, the more truth you can find in it. For instance, this book is The Trials of Jesus. Christ condemned to death by the Jews as a political offender. It says embarrassing fact that Jesus is actually executed as a political offender. Wasn't Malcolm X executed as a political offender? Martin Luther King and many others? Let's go on, brothers and sisters, but it says in Acts with this historical man that even though we can get glimpses once we go in the book instead of by the book, we say, I go by the Bible. Well, let's go in the Bible and we can see that in Acts chapter 10, verse 38 and 39, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with the power, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. Well, it says they call him the devil in the Bible, so is it okay to say devil? And we are a witness of all things which he did both in the land of the Jews in Jerusalem, who they slew and hanged on a tree. Well, what happened to put on the cross? Well, here I got one of the oldest pictures, still in Rome, with him hanged on a tree. Now this is what they have, but I also notice as he's hanging on the tree, it's identical to our brothers who equally were hung on the tree. We are the crucifixion. It represents the crucifixion of a people, not an individual. And you see Yeshua with a sharp two-edged sword coming out through his mouth. Why is that sword coming out through his mouth? Because as it says in Revelation, the truth, to speak the truth to your enemy, your tongue should be like a sharp two-edged sword. That means if you're saying something and white folks are not affected by it, you're not saying anything. But if they're affected by it, you know your tongue is a sharp two-edged sword. All right?